Over the last 9 months, I've saved a bit over $35,000, and I have really good news. I'm not special. So I feel like everybody wants to save more money. Everybody wants to have those good habits in place. But if we're honest, I feel like a lot of the times we try and then we just get discouraged by it and then we kind of give up. So in this video, I want to share with you nine money saving tips that I've used since I was 16 years old to save the majority of every paycheck I've ever received. And all I ask for in return is that you help save the like button from being lonely. And to do that, all you gotta do is tap it. Give it a little like, and we are good to roll. Okay, the first tip I wanna talk about is hiding money from yourself. Okay, so in an earlier video that I made, I talked about how most people that you see as wealthy actually can't afford their lifestyle. And that's the issue that I see everywhere. So many people treat themselves like they're rich, and often they are not. If there's a new iPhone, we get it, even though our old one's perfect. If our car's AC breaks down, we get a whole new car. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a place for treating yourself, because there totally is. What I'm getting at here is that so many people are creating bad, unsustainable financial habits because they're treating themselves like they're rich. So I believe one of the best ways to not do that is to do the opposite and treat yourself like you're poor by hiding your money from yourself. So let me show you how I do this. So I started doing this when I was 15 years old because I had the goal of buying a car. And I knew if I wanted to hit that goal of buying my first car in all cash, I needed to make it difficult to overspend. So basically, I started hiding money from myself. Every single time I got paid, I would only keep in my checking account what I needed for my immediate expenses. Any money that was left over that I didn't need, I would transfer to a separate account and get it out of my sight. I did this religiously until I had my first $4,500, and then I went out and bought my first car, which was a used Toyota Celica from the year 2000 that I bought for $2,700 in cash. And I know what you're thinking. Danny at 16 years old was way cooler than Danny at 23. And if that's what you're thinking, you're right. I know. But this is a habit I still use every single time I get paid, but now instead of using it to save up for a car, I use it to invest aggressively. So every time I get paid, I check my budgeting template, see how much money I need immediately for that month, and everything else, I get it out of there. And I know that sounds scary, but by doing that, I make overspending literally difficult and inconvenient. This money saving tip has been huge in my life, and I think it could be really helpful for you too. It's just a great way to not overspend because you literally make it hard to do so. For people who don't have a brokerage account to transfer money to, go ahead and just treat your savings like a brokerage account. Only keep in your checking what you need for your immediate expenses and then put everything else in your savings. I know that's not revolutionary, but just don't touch your savings and then it'll work. So now you're probably thinking, okay, Danny, I can hide my money for myself. I can do that, but how do I know how much to hide and how much to keep? And I've got you right on this next tip. Okay, this tip is to have an actual physical budget. Okay, maybe I'm old school, but I love having an actual physical budget in Excel, and I truly think everybody should as well. This is my budgeting template, and you can download this exact same budgeting template off of my Patreon, and by doing so, you would also be supporting the channel. So the link is in the description, and thanks for checking it out. But yeah, I prefer a physical, written, typed out budget that you can see because it helps you become much more aware of your inflows and your outflows. And I'm aware that there are apps that you can use that'll just, tell you what you're spending or whatever. But the actual process of going into a budget and filling in, okay, I spent this much here, and this much here, it helps you become so much more aware of what's really going on. When I first made my budget template and I filled it out, I just sat there and looked at it and I was like, I'm really spending $2,200 a month? That's good to know, but it is good to know, and you should know how much you're spending. According to an article published by Mint, 65% of Americans have no idea how much they spent last month. And that is because 65% of Americans have not checked out my Patreon yet. Okay, but for real, that percentage is ridiculously high, so make sure you're not one of them, make sure you have a budget, and make sure you're sticking to it. Okay, the next tip is to track your spending. Once you have a budget, the next good habit to regularly get into is to track your spending. Just because you have a budget does not mean you're gonna follow it. That's like expecting a kid to obey just because you set rules. It does not work. So create a system or a little schedule in which you track your spending. I check mine every single week, and if it's not once a week, it's probably 2 to 3 times a week. The goal here is really just to make sure you're holding yourself accountable to what your financial goals are, and to make sure there's nothing getting by you. I mean, it's so easy to sign up for a subscription and totally forget that you did that, and then a month later, you're like, wow, that was $35 that I kinda needed. So I think the best way to do this is to find one day every single week where you go through and take a look at your spending. I think Sundays are a great day to do this because you're starting on a clean slate. Give yourself your own spending audit and see how well you're doing, because you can't get better at managing your money if you don't have a real idea of how well you are doing. Okay, this next tip is to shop around for different quotes. This could be car insurance, Wi-Fi, maybe even your phone bills. I think this tip is pretty cool because it's a very practical way to just literally lower your bills. There are so many bills that we have that we've been paying for years, and we haven't really questioned why they cost what they cost. Our brain is just like, oh, that's how much car insurance costs, that's how much health insurance costs, and we pay it. But the thing is, every market is getting so much more competitive today, and there are most likely cheaper alternatives for everything you're paying for. As far as phone bills go, Mint Mobile is a great example of how competition is changing the way the landscape works. Because 10 years ago, depending on your cell phone carrier, you might have really, really bad coverage in certain areas. But today, a lot of these cell phone carriers are using the exact same towers to send the signal around. So you might be overpaying for the exact same service that somebody else could be getting for cheaper. So yeah, this tip is to shop around. See if there are different quotes for your current expenses that you can get lower. Health insurance, phone bills, house utilities maybe, car insurance, Wi-Fi. Those are all super obvious ones that you can probably find cheaper alternatives for. Okay, this next tip is to find cheaper alternatives for the things you buy. Okay, this is one of the easiest ways to save money. Avoid brand names. Pretty much always. Whether it's clothing or food or whatever it may be, you can probably find a way, way cheaper alternative just by avoiding the brand. I save a lot of money every single year by only buying generic brand groceries. Check the ingredients. One label might say great value and one might say Dole, but on the inside of that can, it is still pineapple if you're buying pineapple. If you're not buying pineapple, that would be concerning. All of my clothes, they're all brandless too. You're not gonna see a logo anywhere because why would I buy a $40 cotton t-shirt when I can buy a $5 cotton t-shirt without a logo? Okay, this next tip is that having fun doesn't have to equal spending money. Okay, this is an easy one. Just like I think you should find alternatives with clothing and groceries, things that are cheaper, try to find having fun alternatives that avoid spending money. Every single year, your local governments are pouring money into making where you live cooler and better so they can attract new people to move there. They're building new hiking trails, new beautiful parks, new cool places just to hang out at. Take advantage of this. Okay, but I get it. Maybe the outdoors aren't your thing, bugs, sweat, terrible things. I get it. I had a tick bite in my belly button once, and that brought on a whole smorgasbord of complications, so I understand. To summarize this tip, you don't need to spend money to have fun. And if you're not spending money, you can save more money, which is what this whole video is about. Okay, this next tip is to wait to buy things that you want, at least for a little bit. Okay, so my degree is in digital marketing and advertising, and let me let you in on a little advertising secret. When you are at the point where you're about to buy something, you are considered a hot lead. And that's not talking about how you look, that's talking about how close you are to buying something. If you were a cold lead, well then that means you're probably not about to buy something. And in most cases, it was probably a team of marketers who got you to the point of being a hot lead. They did this by slowly serving you ads that were perfectly tailored to you, which convinced you that you need whatever they're trying to sell. But the thing that advertisers know about hot leads is that passion about buying something doesn't last very long. So they know in order to get you to buy something, they have to act fast. So what does this mean? Well, it means you need to outlast the phase of being a hot lead. If marketers are pretty sure that you want something, then they're gonna market to you really, really hard, but for a short amount of time. And if you don't buy during that time, then they're gonna slow down and back up a little bit. So the tip here is to not buy things when you feel like you really want to. Wait a little bit, let your head clear, wait until all of the ads you see aren't for that thing, and then decide if you want to buy it. Typically waiting 1 to 2 weeks should do the trick. Okay, this next tip is crazy, and I got it from the book I'm reading. It's called Procrastinate on Purpose, and it's by Rory Vaden. Hopefully I said his last name right. Basically the concept is whenever you think about buying something, look at the future value of what that will cost you by the time you retire. So here's what the process looks like. Take the price of whatever you want to get, put that in an investing calculator. Then add the amount of years they'll take for you to retire, for me, about 40 years, and then insert the average stock market interest rate. So for me, I really wanted to get an Apple Watch, so I put in $350. I put in a 40-year time limit because that's about how long it'll take for me to retire. I'm 23 right now. And then I put in a 12% interest rate because that's about the average of what the stock market returns year after year. By the time I'm retired, that $350 spent to buy an Apple Watch would be $32,567.84. Think about it this way. When you retire, are you gonna think, man, the 2 years that I had that Apple Watch was worth $32,500. Maybe it is for you. For me, it wasn't, and that is why I don't have an Apple Watch right now. Okay, the last tip is to set financial goals for yourself. Because at the end of the day, saving money is already so hard for most people, but you make it even harder if you don't know what you're aiming for. Just like 15-year-old Danny, he had the goal of buying a car, so it made saving $4,500 a whole lot easier because he knew if he wasn't saving, he wasn't walking towards that goal of getting a car. If I didn't have that goal at that age, I probably would have taken so much longer to save up for a car. So create a financial goal for yourself, something that motivates you and inspires you to actually chase it. Maybe it's to get debt-free. Maybe it's a new car, a dream vacation. Whatever it is for you, find it. Then, once you know what your financial goal is, use the last 8 tips that I just mentioned in this video to crush it. All right, guys, that is the end of the video.
Sorry, I'm editing here and I'm genuinely appalled at how much my hair looks like Jimmy Neutron in that shot. It's straight up like, it's like, hey guys, thanks for watching the video.
Go ahead and take a second to comment below what your favorite tip was from this video. Anyway, if you got any value out of this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, comment for the algorithm, and I'll see you guys next time.